And now, Detailing Success and PNS Double Black present the Renny Doyle Podcast, a podcast for blue-collar entrepreneurs. Hosted by the detailer of Air Force One and founder of both Detailing Success and the Detail Mafia, Renny Doyle. And now, here's Renny.
Tricked you guys. It's just me. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Renny. Just disappeared. So we get plagued with these technical problems all the time. Anyway, we'll see what we can do. But here he is. You really like to leave me hanging.
You want me to go there? We'll look at your to-do list. No, my computer, ever since yesterday, I changed all of the cameras over and nothing would come on. So I had to completely reboot my camera or my computer up and everything else. But
Gotcha. I
got coffee.
Yeah, there you go.
You're never shy on things to say anyway.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was only 10 seconds into the thing and I was out of words.
Really? Well, you know what? You need to learn to dance or, we need to get a karaoke machine. That way, in those days where I have technical difficulties. Well, no,
I just start singing, huh?
Yeah. I was doing a workout, just part of my workout, and I looked down. I got time to do one more thing, and I was like, oh shit, no, I don't. I got to go over there, and then I got to reboot my computer. It's like, oh boy. So today's Q&As. I love these. Were you tracking all of them that coming through on Facebook and stuff like that?
I'm pretty sure I got them all. Cool. But I last checked late last night.
Yeah, I added a couple to the list, so I think it's going to be fun. So,
well, I think I've got enough here to keep us busy.
Right. So, well, cool. Well, Roger's on. Hey, Roger, what's up? Michael, what's happening, man? How you doing, buddy? And Gabriel's on. So we got a whole bunch. Let's go ahead and start rolling into it. So.
Christian Ramos, we got Jeff at Fast Eddie's, and Frank in Pittsburgh. Frank joins us on the podcast. That's how we know Pittsburgh is still on the map.
Pittsburgh's a cool town. Pittsburgh, back when the first time I went to Pittsburgh, it was a little rough, and then now you go to Pittsburgh and there's some really cool stuff going on in Pittsburgh. I wish Detroit would do the same thing. That I think they are. I think Detroit's kind of trying to really do what Pittsburgh did. It's just they had a hard time in the industry. Really hit them hard, and it's all of us need to take and revive ourselves every once in a while. So
yeah,
let's jump in. We had a great week last week. We were in Chicago, and man, I'll tell you, among all the influencers were great. All the people there were great. The attendees is what got me going, because that's what makes the world go around. And to see so many. It was really cool because it was a blend of professional detailers and then really serious enthusiasts. And it was really cool to meet some people that we see here on the podcast or we see in Facebook or different groups and so forth. And it was really awesome. So,
yeah. So it was, for anybody that doesn't know, it was the Creator Summit at Car Supplies Warehouse. And it was the first time they did it. And they brought in, some industry influencers, creators, whatever it was. And then they brought in some vendors, and we were there, as part of the PNS team, right, as a vendor to work with the creators and make some content. And I think it was cool because, I think everybody expected the creators to be kind of leading the way, but we also taught the creators a few things as well.
And it's amazing because you hear, Pan, the organizer, I mean, he's got, just shy of 1 million followers on Facebook or on YouTube. And, you hear all these things about these people. Oh, he's this, he's that, she's this, she's that. What a great group of people, man. They were giving. They were giving of their time. They were giving of their experiences. They were down to earth. And it was cool because they had some real big, influencers with mega followers, and I think what Jason and team did was they brought in some new influencers with not near the bandwidth, but they could see people that were maybe coming up through the ranks, and it was pretty cool. So,
Yep.
pretty awesome. Yeah, pretty awesome. So, but you know what, Roger, I should have wore my hat, man. I still wear my hat all the time. It's one of my favorite hats.
So
So,
hey, you want to tell everybody about our shirts?
well, I think it's kind of evident. So we're kind of putting a push on to get Bob and Dave into the Hall of Fame this year. Voting's going to start. I think it already started, maybe, or nominations. Nominations started.
Yeah, I think so. Not voting.
Yes, nominations have started. So, Bob and Dave have done a fabulous job. They've had long careers, in car care, and we just love to see them recognized. Their dad was recognized in the first class. I was honored enough to be among the inductees that year with their dad, but it's time for Bob and Dave, and so they're great fellas. So we've got Josh Pierce. Made some shirts up, so we're just showing support for Bob and Dave to get into that Hall of Fame. So we're excited to take and do it. We hope that you guys will join us, and they definitely need it. So it's not need it; they deserve it. That's a better
There you
word.
go.
Sorry, I'm reading messages as I do it. So I read a need in there. So yeah, it's fun. You're going to see us wearing these every once in a while. I went to put on a really cool shirt yesterday. I got all kinds of. I went on a shirt buying spree, but one of them came in. It's awesome. I love it. It's kind of got my personality in it. And then the other one today was yesterday was defective.
Oh
man, that sucks. So
I got a new shirt in the mail while we were out of town. It's a Myers Manx shirt, but it won't be a fun one for the podcast because the design is on the back.
Oh well, you'll have to sit backwards.
Yeah.
Sometimes it might be a better view. Just saying.
We can make this the Chris show any minute, anytime.
Hold on. That might have been a way of me flirting, saying that I like your butt.
Oh no.
See, I mean, you took it the negative way. You got to take it the other way. That maybe I was checking out your stuff.
No, I think I like the negative way better.
So hey, let's jump into this. This is a really fun one because most of them, I looked at a couple of the Facebook one, two to be exact. So I got a little prepared on that one, but I really didn't. It's pretty. They're pretty. I mean, not simple ones, but they're something that's common knowledge to me and a lot of people. Love to share it. So,
well, the first one I'm going to bring up came in last minute through the email, and so neither one of us has really given this one much thought yet. So here we go. But it was, I'm going to mess up Jeff's last name. I'm not sure how to pronounce Jeff. Is it Couts?
Fast Eddie's.
It's Fast Eddie's, and Jeff will have to teach me in person because he's coming to training soon. But anyway, his question was a little bit longer than this, but this is the gist of it because I was out of characters on the screen. What are some ways you would define a detail business as successful? How will you know when I've made it? And he says that because his calls are coming in, he's staying busy, all that kind of stuff. He feels like he's putting out quality work, but he knows he still has a ton to learn, especially on the business side of things.
That's okay because you can be there. I don't know if I've arrived yet. I mean, that's the way I look at it. Where's arrived when you've made it? I mean, the first thing is when you're happy. I mean, you got to truly be happy in what you do. And so different business models are going to require or kind of mandate how far you go. Personally, I think that if you've got your bills paid, you're able to invest, you own a home, you're living the American dream. You're putting retirement away. You've got an nest egg stuck aside. You're able to take a vacation. Ideally, going one step further than that. I mean, so we've got a lot of people now. It's very, very popular. And I did it years ago twice. I've done it 3 times. Is that I worked out of my garage. The first time was during the winter in Sun Valley, Idaho. I snuck in. I didn't have permission, but I kept it real on the low. I didn't do a lot of volume. My Ernest Hemingway's son, was my neighbor. He loved it because I'd go over to keep him quiet because he was kind of the squeaky wheel in the neighborhood. We didn't have a normal neighborhood. So our property, we had a couple of acres, so it was kind of set aside. But some of my neighbors knew it and they loved it because they knew I was just getting a start and I was going after what I love to do. I wasn't doing what I did before. I was happy And so I think that, Jeff, if you take in, it comes in chapters. It's like reading a book, man. I can tell you, I'm on my second read of a book that Chris got me, and each chapter just keeps putting a smile on my face. It just, I don't know if they're better, but when you link the chapters together, it's just a really good spot. And so I think that a lot of people, my idea, and I think going back, knowing what I know now, is that I wanted to change. Detailing was really tough to make it in back in the 80s and 90s. And you could squeak out a living, but it was tough. And it's not like now. So when I came back into it, 97, 98, is I really wanted to take and change the opinion, not of detailing, just in detailing of my market. I had no eyes on the national scene. It didn't take long though. Within the first year, I did, because I got tied in with Shell Oil, Shell Aviation, and all of a sudden was thrust onto a much bigger scene. But my biggest thing is I wanted to take and develop a very a spa. Back then it was brand new. I wanted to do an auto spa where we offered many services in the spa, the automotive spa. I wanted to take and create a solid income where I could own my home, which I did at that time. I wanted to take and create an environment where I could keep, we had three of our 4 kids were born in by that time. Our idea was maybe to keep Diane just working part-time, which we did. We wanted to buy a shop, which we were able to do. So I wanted the baseline of just being a happy dude and a happy family. And honestly, I look back, and when I got on the national scene, I got stars in my eyes, and I saw, wow, there's a lot of opportunity. Detailing's just not. We've done a great job of making it understood at the next tier of consumer, and we're making profits that are unheard of. I can do this all over the place. And that really, really hunked up my lifestyle for a while, because I grew too fast. Looking back, it wasn't quite scalable at that time. I didn't have enough control mechanisms. I didn't have enough people to help me with it. So I had a lot of pressure on myself. Didn't have enough finances sitting in the background to back it all up. And so with that, I kind of created a mess for myself. It was successful, but with all honesty, it was too much. And so, I did slow it down, and then it just took off again on its own. When we started the training thing, that was part of it. We had the spa going. We're going to do some training. We had, again, no idea of how that was going to take off, but and then it took off, and it just kept growing and growing and growing. And then probably it took about 3-4 years. 08 happened, the big crash. So that was kind of a setback, because I just sold the shops off, all but one. And so I was hustling to get the shop operating good. I was hustling to get the training operating solid. So for about another 3-4 years, I really got back into the groove of just working my ass off. And by 2012, 11 was the last year I was busted. It was ugly, man. I overworked. And so long story short is that you got to watch what you wish for. You've got to design it with an idea in mind, and, talk to people, because bigger is not always better. In the case of detailing, I mean, there's people out there making it happen, but, I won't mention his name, but I was looking at somebody earlier this year, that's really got a good thing going. And I look at him, and I remember back 17 years ago when I was that age and had a really good thing going. And I can see extreme burnout in his soul. And he can't see it yet. I think he can feel it. I don't think the people around him, they don't know. And so I tried to say something that was kind of shut down nicely. I said something nicely, and it was shut down nicely because they look at opportunity. But that person's going to have to come to that reality on his own. And unfortunately, some people, it takes a real big toll on you. And I just hope that doesn't happen. So,
you mentioned it a little bit ago. You talked about baseline, right? And, I think a real simple way to look at it is, set a goal, and what's your goal, and if you achieve it, I would imagine that's when you've made it, on your own. on your own terms, right? I mean, comparing ourselves to others is where things get, can get interesting. So,
well, here's the thing that I was talking to a good friend of mine we're the same exact Rick Walling. I'll go and throw him out there. I was talking to Rick Walling yesterday, a very successful detailer out of Oregon. We're the same exact age. We're just hours apart in age. We've got a lot of similarities in our business, starting out back in the 80s. I left it for a while. Rick didn't. He just stayed at it. But, he set himself up for success as being in his 50s. He's really into motocross. Still rides hard, races. He's looking at a really big race this fall. Matter of fact, he might miss SEMA because of it. And I was like, dude, I'd go to the race. Matter of fact, if you need a pit crew, I'll go, because it's such a great opportunity. But he set himself up looking back. But both of us said, had we been in this generation coming up through detailing now, we should be 10 years ahead. We should be able to do what we're both doing right now at 47, not 57. And it takes careful planning. But here's the other thing both of us admitted. We could still be where we're both at. We're just at different spots. That's all it is. It's just I went one direction, I turned right, he turned left, and we ended up at the same stop sign. So both of us agreed, though, we could have taken and relaxed more and done our passions more and still been where we're at. We still could have. It was a misconception in our minds and a fear that, if we didn't push it this hard, it wouldn't happen. Now knowing what we do is when, Jeff, when you get to that area, how much more do you want? How much more do you want to give up? Every time that you grow your business, if you're in a good spot and you've got money in the bank, you got a year's worth of wages in the bank, you've got your house is in a good situation. Maybe you bought an investment property. Maybe you bought your shop. How much more do you want? How much more work do you want, or how much more life do you want? That's what, and I'm going to tell you right now, Rick and I think that when you chase life a little more, I think success becomes a little easier. And it's hard because I don't want to get. I mean, there's people, you're going to have a decade into this thing of busting your ass. Simple as that. You're going to have to work hard, but it doesn't mean you can't have a life and you shouldn't have a life. You should. You got to know when to put that business on a dimmer switch. You need to know when it's bright. But if you go bright, full on all the time, you know what happens with light bulbs when they're on 24/7, at least old-fashioned ones, they burn out. They burn out. They wear out. They're dead. They're no use. We take them out. We throw them away. And it's the same light. You don't want your light to burn out. You don't want that to happen to you. And so, talking to people that came up through the caveman era of our industry of blue collar, is you guys don't have it easier. It's different. It's louder. There's all kinds of things going on, but there's some definite benefits. And basically the biggest benefit is tribal knowledge, man. There's a lot of people out there talking, and I see a lot of people that call themselves successful, but they're out there, in the forums, either hating or ragging or bagging or whatever it is. Man, I just can't see, my happy mind can't be occupied with that. I can't see it. And so I got to ask myself, is that person truly successful? Because peace of mind and a satisfied mind, to me, is as important as the money.
Yep. Very cool.
I'd love to see. You know what? It'd be cool to have that conversation with Michael. Is at some point we're going to bring him on. Make a note, Chris, before we move, as I'm answering the next question, to bring Michael on and talk about that. When do you know when you've arrived? How do you know that you've made it? Because that dude just, when he speaks, it's an old E.F. Hutton commercial. Most of you won't remember it, but when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. Michael starts talking, and my ears grow by 25%. And believe it or not, I shut up. I'm not real good at shutting up, but I do know when to. I know when to shut up. I know when not to talk. Last week, I didn't talk a lot. Last week, I listened a lot.
Well, it would be it's a good topic for an entire podcast for sure.
It is. And I think bringing him on is oh, look at, he responded. Defined differently for everyone. And it will change over time. Bam. What did I just say? It's going to change. Mine's completely different now. My kids are grown, right? And we're still, believe it or not, I've got a kid all of a sudden, Juan, her boyfriend's kind of interested in starting to learn about the industry and detailing, and maybe looking at starting a shop up down the hill or something like that. I was like, whoa, where'd this come from? But all of a sudden we have a little bit of a pivot, and it's pretty cool. So hope that helps, Jeff.
Very cool. Next one up is from Daniel Lang. Says, based on your previous experience, if you were starting a detailing business today from the ground up, how would you do it, and what pitfalls would you watch out for?
Pitfall. Well, I'd stay off. The only thing I'd go on to social media for is market myself. I'd go to events. I would get trained and educated. Education is the biggest change that we've seen in this. And I'm not pushing ours. You can go to free educations. There's a lot of manufacturers. I mean, I put on a coffee coatings and profits thing. It's free. It's usually like $20, but you get it back in merchandise depending on where I'm doing it. Education doesn't have to cost. You just have to invest the time. I would look at my realities. Where am I at? How much money do I have stocked away, put away? If this is mine was a side hustle on 2 different times, where it wasn't a main hustle, but it was a side hustle. Well, the first time was just a way for a kid to make money and learn how to fly, And so I would take and keep right now. I'll tell you, wash clays and coats, anywhere from $200 to $600, depending on your market. I would take and get connected. I would go where people of influence hang out in town, whether that's the Chamber or the Rotary. I would go where no other detailer goes. If there's no detailer there, that's what I did. Is the Chamber of Commerce is a great asset. I would look the part. I would smell the part. I wouldn't roll in. I've had nice vehicles over the years, and when I still own shops, I didn't drive some of those vehicles out to customers. But there's a funny story with Arnold Schwarzenegger and how he did get him as a customer finally. And I did drive something cool out to his place, and that's what got his attention. But I wouldn't roll big. A lot of detailers want to roll like their customers. And some of these people don't want us rolling like them. They want us to look professional, neat. Was over with my dad lives in Vegas. He's moving to Santa Fe, New Mexico. I was over there. I was picking up a card. We went over and helped him with some stuff that he needed help with. And then he ended up giving a card to our daughter when we were there. We had AAA come out to check the battery out. Man, I'll tell you what, the van rolled up. I'm used to vans. I've built vans in our companies, right? All of our shops. Van rolls up super clean, strobes on it. Little tiny van, just a little Ford van, right? Had strobes on it. Guy gets out, impeccable uniform, impeccable. Greets me, shakes my hand, looks me in the eye, says, "Okay, we got a battery problem. Give me 10 minutes, and I'll have a complete analysis." Comes over, he's got a pad, goes through what it's going to be. Battery's dead, shows me the test results, how much it is to put a new battery in, what my options are. 15 minutes, so he's out of there. Shakes my hand, very professional. That's the kind of connection you want to be. I would keep things as simple as you could and do a reality check on your inventory. Okay, what's my finances look like? Okay, honestly, what's my finances look like? B, what is my knowledge base? Everybody thinks it's the detailing side of it's easy. Polishing a car is easy. I hate to say it. In this day and age, is if you've got the right education and know-how, there's challenges in it, but running a business is a lot harder. Is that if you think that the detailing, the technical side is going to be the difficult side, it's like dentists and doctors when they get out. The reason why so many dentists and private practice doctors fail is they don't teach business in medical school much. It's a very short part of it. And on the side of finances, it really gets them screwed up. It's the same thing with service business, blue collar. People think because I'm good at something that I will build it and they will come. And a lot of times, if you don't know how to manage money, if you don't have enough money to get going, if you quit your job too early, is that I kept a side hustle for the first 3 winters I was in business. Did I need to? First 2 I did. Is I had kids. The first 2 winters I had 2 kids. The third winter I had a third kid. And so I didn't really need to do it, but I did it anyway just to cover down. But what I had advantage of is I'd just come out, I'd owned 2 other businesses, very successful, sold them off, went to work for a big corporation, did very well there. That's where I learned finance. That's where I learned a profit and loss statement. That's where I learned scalability. That's where I learned management. That's where I learned management of people. That's where I learned to be a follower within leadership. And a lot of people just can't understand that. Well, I'm a leader. I don't need to follow. Bullshit. Is that if you're going to lead, you got to know how to follow and drop back into line when that time comes. There's times that people are going to lead you, even if you're the top leader. And you look at a president, they got advisors. What do you think that is? The president's still the president, but they're getting advice. I would take and do a look at what you're going to do service-wise. I would design a menu. I'd be very careful about that. I'd really design. So many people have a menu, and it's Me Too advertising. I looked. Matter of fact, every day I go on to Instagram and TikTok, and it's amazing on how many service providers, not just detailers, but period, look alike, sound alike, taste alike, price alike. And I'm like, I would look so different. I'd stand out. I would be memorable, and I wouldn't go after what everybody's going after. Is that I want to be the only person that offers my level of service and is connected in my market. And so it's it's relationships, and it's marketing. It comes down to those three baseline items. And if you don't know how to do it, own it. Go take classes. Junior colleges are an amazing asset. We've got SCORE, is an amazing asset. Toastmasters, an amazing asset. And all of those items are cheap. It doesn't cost a lot. And it's just I'm gonna steal one off of Carroll Shelby, the great Carroll Shelby. I heard him in a speech. I got one conversation I brag about it all the time. Less than 5 minutes, still talk to him. It just blows me away. But I heard him say one time, he was in his 80s, and he says, you could drop me butt ass naked in Michigan in January, and by June, I'm going to be back on top because I know how to. I don't need the money to do it. I know how to build the relationships. I got a passion for what I do, and I'll outwork everybody. There you go. That dude's amazing. He went through, he had to stop racing because his heart was bad. He had a heart replacement, and he kept going into his 80s. Imagine the stress that guy was under at different points and why it didn't kill him. He just had a heart of a lion. I'm surprised he's dead. I don't think he is. I think he's with Michael Jackson and Elvis.
Michael Jackson and Elvis and Shelby. Huh.
They're all hanging out.
All right, let's see. Next one.
I hope that helps.
Jose sent in. He goes, how do you communicate effectively with high-end customers? My calls and text messages are often missed because they are so busy.
You're not memorable enough. I hate to say it, is that they'll call you back, and it takes time. I've been there. And being memorable, I'm not dogging on you, is I'd like to know how many years you've got in the business. And how connected are you? How engaged? So, for instance, Diane and I, well, and that's the other thing is high end. Are there a lot of high end clients? What do you call in high end? I never wanted. I lived in one of the most exclusive, wealthiest communities in North America, and I didn't want the wealthiest. I didn't want that cream on top. Those guys were, I had them, but I didn't really hunt for them. I hunted the next ones down, the next level down. And then the service providers, all the contractors that did work for them, those people had serious money. Those are all. But where are you going, and are you being seen? So Diane worked nights, and so when we first got going, she was a wait staff at a really high end restaurant, and it was named Oscar's. He's from Spain. Still the best food I've ever had. My favorite restaurant. Everywhere I've gone across the world, 22 different countries, on paella, Spanish style paella, second to none. This guy had at any given time in his restaurant on a Saturday night, you could go in there and it was a who's who of Hollywood. I mean, Bruce Willis. I could just go down. Steve Wynn was there all the time when he was in town. He had a house there, but Bruce and Demi were in there all the time, almost every weekend. It was unbelievable. Well, when they rebuilt the restaurant. Or excuse me, it was Felix, not Oscar's, Felix's. When they rebuilt it, it's where Felix lived. It was the house he grew up in. They converted it into a restaurant. His mom wanted him to do it. It's really ski towns. That's what they do, is they convert houses into restaurants and other businesses. So here you are at Felix's restaurant, where he grew up is the house that he was raised in. And his mom gifted it to him because she wanted him to do something that would stand out and change his life. And so at 60-something years old, he built that restaurant. There was one table that was a 2-spot, only 2 people, and it was right over a vent, and it was kind of back a little bit set back. You could see it from the whole restaurant, but they didn't like to put people there because of the vent, whether it was the air conditioning or the heating. They could turn it down, but then that area would get cold or hot. And so Diane and I made a deal with them, and we said, listen, we want to come in every Saturday night at 7 o'clock. We're going to buy a bottle of wine. We're going to buy an hors d'oeuvre, and we're going to have dessert because that's all we could afford. This place was pretty expensive. And we were where our customers were. And we didn't have to introduce, because I remember one time Bruce Willis was really, he's not quiet. He wasn't a quiet guy, or isn't a quiet guy. Is that we're sitting there, and all of a sudden he goes, "Hey, Renny, come here." And he calls me over there, and he introduces me to one of his friends that just bought a place there. And 2 weeks later, I'm working on that guy's collection. He had a killer collection. Willis had a killer collection. What I'm saying here is put yourself where that high-end client is. If the golfing is big in your area, figure out how to build a relationship with that country club and be seen there. Be top of mind where you're constantly there. Also be an asset to where you're educating them. Don't just be a service provider, is that you want to provide them. We used to say entertain them and educate them. And so what we would do is we would explain what we did to their car. We also kept our standards. We were never cocky. We were very professional, but we were very proud of what we did, and we didn't allow to be pushed down, meaning that our prices weren't cheap. I would rather do something else than offer a cheap price. I've got to meet the demand of what it does to cost. My cost of business got to be covered. My burn rate's got to be covered. But you've got to put yourself where those customers are. And somehow I searched, man, if you go back through the last 20 years of dressing different. And I mean, I was on there as a dad for many years, and I wasn't even buying my clothes. I was so busy just working. Diane would come home and I just wear whatever it was. And then one day I looked at a picture and I was like, I would never wear that. Why am I wearing that in that picture? And I look back at the last 20 pictures. I'd never wear any of that. What had happened is I wasn't me. And so when I became me, honestly me, and presented myself that way to people, we were clean, we were courteous. We actually marketed that we were a family. Not too much, but people knew that we had kids. We didn't put our kids out there. Our kids didn't like that, matter of fact. Still don't. But we knew. People knew we had dogs. People knew our history was search and rescue. It still happens to today. And so you've got to turn yourself into somebody that's memorable and make yourself valuable. They will pick up that phone when you're valuable. There was a time where in my career, as we had another business aside from another industry, and I could call. I had a long list of customers, Hollywood celebrity names. I could call them on their cell phone and ask them a question, and they'd pick up. Why? Because I'd brought value to their life, and I was memorable. And look at me. I'm nothing special. I'm less than special, far less than average. I married way up, thank goodness. Suckered into that when I was young. But the thing that I did is I care about people. I was always courteous. I never sold anything I didn't believe in. I did a few times, and I hated it. I still regret it to this day. And I just connected with people on a very natural, mutual beneficial wavelength, meaning that I wanted my services to be of value to them, but I had to get the price I needed to allow myself to live the lifestyle I wish to live. And so we didn't get beat down with that. So again, I don't know how long you're into this, but make yourself memorable. And it's going to take seat time.
Yep. And beyond, making yourself memorable is certainly the right way to go. You want to keep that dialogue with those clients, but if they are so successful that they have a assistant or a hitman helping them out, maybe you need to build a relationship with that person to get in front of them.
Absolutely. And it's, we had for Steve Wynn is we had, I won't say his name. We had his main contact had become a good friend. And we talked to Steve Wynn once out of every 25 services. We had him as a customer on both of our companies. And so we didn't really talk to him, but we talked to his assistant all the time. So if you are in one of those markets that's got that, that's, as Chris just hit that, is you want to build a relationship, because if you build trust up with that person or the wife, so if you've got a busy entrepreneur or the husband, if you've got a really busy entrepreneur and the wife or husband is kind of managing things, make sure to build a good relationship with them. That their trust in you will translate over into that primary person that's saying yay or nay.
Very cool. Hey, next one is pretty easy, but it's a good question. Eno, I think is his name.
Cool name.
Asked, how do you join the Air Force One detailing team?
That's the only way through is our 5-day training. Is you come through. It's all we have an application process for everybody that came through the 5-day. We've got roughly just at 200 members. It hovers right around there. So it comes out of our think tank. Once we get through training, I mean, there's a lot of detail in education and how to and this and that, but mainly it's how to run a business. And so we have an application process for those individuals. And then some of the we have our guest up this year's 20 years, so we're having a big gala party. So we're inviting some special VIPs from within the industry, and that's how you get there. That's the only way. We're the gatekeeper on that.
Yeah, the members of the Air Force One detailing team are selected from members of our network group, the Detail Mafia, and members that want to join the team have to apply. That's actually something we've started doing, to where they apply, and the advisory board that we have runs through the applications and helps make those selections. But members, people that are members of the Detail Mafia, they first had to attend the 5-day training through Detailing Success. Every member of the Detail Mafia has the same baseline education that way.
It makes it to where we're vetted, is that we know who it is, and then the application process, just making sure their heart's in the right spot, that they're participating, that they're not drama developers, that they're a team player, that they're not one. We had one guy one time show up, great guy, but he basically brought his own camera crew. Just told us, hey, just set me off to the side. I'll see you on Friday. And we're like, yeah, no. So it's a volunteer program. Believe it or not, Diane and I, the last couple of years, we've been able to not write a big check for it. We've been able to break even. This year's going to be a tough one. We'll see what happens. So it's pride out of anything. We don't just do Air Force One. This year, what is it, 7 or 8 planes total that we're working on. Some of it's preservation, where we're just cleaning it and putting preservers on it. Other ones are a lot. We've got years, probably a decade. I mean, Air Force One, we're finally getting the leading edges done, because they were really beat up. The metal and the paint was so bad. It took us this many years to get it to its maximum potential. So now there was a test spot I did 20 years ago, almost 21 years ago now, that we finally got on the leading edges. So that, it's a process. We're going to be there well after I'm gone, still not just preserving these aircraft, but fine tuning them. So it's pretty cool. Somebody asked about boat detailing. We're actually looking at that. We got a partner in our group. So we'll bring more details to that. We're actually looking at the aircraft detailing side of it too. So we'll be putting more information out about boats and aircraft later this year or maybe next year.
Yeah. Hey, Josh, regarding boats though, I know it's not training, but the IDA does have certifications now. Those are written tests for both boats and also they just added motorcycles. So, but it's definitely not hands-on training. So that would be different.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Next one. Oops. Get that to stay up here. There we go. Nathan Garrett asks, how often do you stop and listen to your body while detailing?
Oh, Nathan, what's up? All the time, nonstop. Matter of fact, I've been an athlete my entire life, one way or the other. And I always tell people now, my age, I'm thick and fit, and I like it because I love food. But I still like to work out. It's all getting creative motions. So when we're teaching people all the way from our youngest students, 18, 19 years old, all the way up, we've had students come at 70, 71 years old, and they, believe it or not, kill it. But we teach very, very body safe techniques to not. Your first thing is going to go is your shoulders. You're going to wipe your shoulders out, and your back, probably both those at the same time. And so, it's keeping fluid. It's making sure that you're not bent over and all decrepit. The other thing, a lot of people, is your body wearing out is exposure to chemicals. If it's on you, it's in you. And so, it's also is getting enough sleep. A lot of people, entrepreneurs, I'm grinding 24/7 bullshit. Even now, you go into special forces teams or you go into pilots, is that their requirement for sleep. Sometimes they can't because they're all gunned up. But the requirements for sleep has changed a lot. We've realized that we as humans, they're superhumans, which 99.9% of us aren't, that can survive, not thrive, survive off of 4 or 5 hours sleep. I'm full of energy today. I got probably about 4.5, 5 hours last night. I'm fine, but I can't do that all the time. My body requires a good 7.5, 8 hours of sleep, probably 4 or 5 days a week if I'm listening to my body. Also, mind rest is that you don't want to take and be constantly, if you're constantly on, it's just like a jet airplane. If it's constantly in afterburner mode, you're just going to wear, you're going to burn the exhaust right off the back end of it. You're going to break everything. You're going to wear down. You're going to run out of fuel really quick. You might be in a spot where the refuelers can't reach you. It's the same in business. And so you've got to look at burnout. You've got to look at all these things. But that's a really good question is, how do you listen to your body? Is, believe it or not, by not overworking. And then also now, I'm telling you, I mentioned earlier at that question, what do I do to start a new business? Listen, I love paint correction, but we live in a time to where we can make just as much per hour of not touching a polisher to paint in the right markets as we can touching a polisher. And the customers are just as happy. We can provide an amazing service. And yeah, the cars aren't, most people don't know, take a line from Mike Phillips. They don't know a swirl from a squirrel. Is that, so if you live in a market to where people just want shiny protected paint, is that I'm going to give that to them. I'll constantly be able to deliver, high class, high level paint correction, but there's a cost to that, mentally, physically, financially, everything else. And so, that's a great question. So check your body all the time. And it's a 360-degree check. Are you eating right? So many blue collar entrepreneurs eat like shit. Is they don't feed themselves right. They eat junk on the road, or they don't eat at all. Which sometimes I did a 24-hour fast yesterday. It's okay, but you got to feed your body too, and you got to feed your mind, and you got to rest your body in line.
Oh, speaking of feeding my body, that trip to Chicago cost me 5 pounds.
Really?
Yes.
We had some good food, man. There were no.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, it's the Bays. What a great event. I mean, it was just over the top, and I can't. It wasn't their first one. It looked like they did this 10 times. It wasn't a good first one. It was a good one. Period.
Got a couple of questions from some Detail Mafia members. Tony, I think it's Mazel, if I remember right, how you pronounce it. Anyway, my interior detailing customers get sticker shock at around $300. How do I explain maximum potential and convey the value of a $300 plus interior detail?
Is I would take and work off technology. So good before and afters, both video and still photos. I would also talk about the science of it, and I wouldn't talk down my competition, but I would greatly say, most of my competition, most of the because Tony's in northern Los Angeles County, is I would take and say, a lot of people soak the car, saturate the car. They don't neutralize the chemicals, and so the car is going to stay. It's going to get dirtier faster, and so a lot of the chemicals they use are going to eat at the fabric of the fabric itself, or the foam. A lot of times, what they're using on leather is totally inappropriate. It's going to Long term, you're not going to see it immediately, but long term damage on leather is going to be consistent. Carpets, they're going to start breaking down the glue. Once they start doing that, there's going to be an odor in the car that we simply can't get rid of. And so you've got to determine, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, what's more important for you, price or quality? And if it's price, send them the shittiest competitor you've got, and let that competitor fill up their schedule with crap work, and you keep taking the stuff that makes money. Is you can only do is, and again, your biggest thing is drafting in from other areas. Is that people start seeing your work, your before and afters, and then also looking, the customers that if their cars get that bad, are they going to let it get that bad? And is that your ideal client? Is maybe start hitting up the people, look for the customers that lease cars. Maybe look at the customers that don't have school-age kids. It's and then definitely, we've seen, our own daughter does a pretty good job. She's 19. Her car's not too bad, but it's definitely, yeah. I've never had a car look like that, but she doesn't do too bad. She doesn't do too bad. But, it's all how you're targeting. And again, I'll go back to a statement made earlier. Who are you? Who's in your circle? So what circles are you in? Is you might not be in your customer circle, but if they like you, they're going to bring you into that circle. And so that upper end customer, and it might be a contractor. We did really good with contractors. We did really good with all the different trades. We also did really well with landscape contractors, and we did really well with high-end maid services, housekeeping services. And so those people gave us a lot of exposure to their clientele, and it just kept growing. So, if you're getting constant calls from Trasher Cars, look at your advertising. What's your message about it you say? Maybe tighten up your message, maybe tighten up your website a little bit, and kind of start trying to weed out those people that are a little more price sensitive. I always would just told people is I look at it and I'd show them the full menu, and if they came back at that, wow, it's pretty high, I'd say straight out, what's the most important element? Is it price or quality? And if they, I'd end it like this a lot of times because you can't have both. And if you do, it's just a short term. I'm a family. I've got family. We invest back in our community. We support a lot of community events. And so, anybody that's doing it is giveaway. They're not giving anything to the community. Now, a lot of people don't care. And so it's seat time. It's keeping with the message, and is your market ripe for it? And again, maybe it's one of those that if you keep those people come back, and the cars are trashed, you can't even get $300 for it. Maybe you start targeting, paint correction coatings or wash clays and protects, or wash clays and coats, and just stay away from that market completely.
There you go.
Price it as you need. Make some money. If they don't accept it, then, look at everything. Look 360 degrees around you and see what you're sending out, but also look at your market, and it might be a market problem.
Next one, Rick Kolb. I'm currently a mobile detailer. If given the opportunity to build a home-based shop or rent a shop, what would you do?
My house is sitting 45 yards away. It's right here.
Your home-based shop is a little different than most.
Yeah, well, it is, but it's sitting right here. I'll tell you a story. Is that A, can you do it legally? That's the first thing you ask yourself. B, what's your clientele? What's the message you're going to send? So I'll tell you a story. Our youngest daughter, Darren's 19 now. When she was 4, we had two localized shops. One was about 2 hours away from where we lived, and it was kind of a sub shop, right? And then we had a primary shop there. So I decided to work out of. We had 2 garages. We had a main garage, and then we built a secondary garage in the backyard when we built the house. I decided to take a whole year and just work out of that shop, doing all of my high-end customers. And we'd bring them there. I was really concerned. We had a nice house, decent house. It looked professional. We got it to where everything looked great. But I was concerned that the customers wouldn't dig it. At the end of that year, I started going back to the shop when she went to school. And I had customers, those same high-end customers going, well, hey, can I just have you do it at your home shop? I really like having no people around it. And I was like, are you kidding me? And so until we sold that shop, I did a lot of my personal high-end stuff that people that paid just for me to work on it, I did at my home shop. And it was legal. It was above board. I had to do some serious selling to get it there. We couldn't use water, so to say, to wash it. So what I did is I utilized a wash bay that was about a mile away from our property. And then we come back and finish it up with a no rinse. So I get the wheels, the tires, undercarriage, engine, all that done if I was doing it at a remote location, then drive it back over. My insurance covered me. That's the other thing to ask, is your insurance going to cover you on transporting or driving people's vehicles, and what the distance is and how much it's going to cost you. So I would say absolutely. I think it's a trend. We've got a lot of people doing that now. We've got people in our group that's done that legally and successfully. I love it because you're not investing in somebody else's. If you could buy a shop, it's even better. Rick, I was talking about Rick Walling up in Oregon. You know, he owns his home in town, and then he bought a commercial building. And, you know, part of his, guys, I don't care if you're 20, is that you're going to want to retire. Why ever retire? No. Am I going to take and run my businesses? You know, I learned from my mentors is when you arrive at a location where you're making money 24/7, 8 hours when you're sleeping, is that you're in a pretty good spot. And so I want to continue with that. We've got, you know, Chris is on his way up here today. We're going to talk about some of those businesses and opportunities I'm looking at right now. But Rick Walling's looking at when he retires, you know, is he's got a good plan for his shop, his detailing business, but he's got a plan. No matter what, he's got that shop, and it's very in demand and very needed. He's got income the rest of his life from that. That's why I think the biggest change in the industry is that people is education, and then the level of professional entrepreneur we're bringing in has changed. And then, but people are building and owning shops, and that's pretty awesome.
Yep. All right. Next one. I have a second one from Daniel Lang. He asked, when and how did you transition from detailer to trainer?
I did it at a time when it was quiet. And so I've always, so the government has spent a shitload of money training me on how to be a trainer. It started when I went to my first trainer program with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. Oh, no. Hold on. Let's go even back before that. Boise State, ROTC. I went through a leadership course at Boise State University through ROTC in 1986. And I was 19 years old. And so ever since then at 19, but it even goes back before that, I was into scouting. And I went to a class that they put for our council in Southern California and was the patrol leader. And so they had a patrol leaders workshop. And so my ability to lead and train is through education, is getting it. Not everybody's a good trainer. It's a lot harder than what people think. So in the detailing industry, 2005, I had somebody contact me. We had set up our own certification program at our shops. We had 6 shops, and 3 of them I directly owned. The other 3, believe it or not, were franchise operations or license operations back in the day. And so we developed this whole big handbook. We trained them. We certified them ourselves. Why? Because I wanted to stand out as a international, because we'd done some international work at that time, recognized, trained, and certified detailer, our staff. So we had 3 classifications. And to become a master, we only had 3 masters in all of our shop. It was serious. We put this on ourselves. There was no other one. We developed it ourselves. It took 3 to 4 years to become a master at our shops. And what that meant was that you could work independently in our shops, and we're a problem solver. I didn't have to take and babysit you. And that's why there are so few that did it. So flash forward, the forums come around 04, somewhere right in there, 05. Matt Williams, our first private student. I've been doing classes, open garages, storefront stuff for manufacturers. I've been training at that time, going back to 99, 2000. I was speaking on behalf of Aeroshell, Shell Oil Corporation. I was training. We wrote the book on aircraft detailing. I still have the little book. It's the Air Care Guide, called the Air Care Guide. They still hand it out all these years later. If you want to see me with hair, there's a picture in there of me with hair. And so it goes all the way back to that. So I was priming myself as a kid, but just didn't know it, is that I was priming myself to learn how to teach. And so in 05, when we had Matt Williams come in, is that Marysville, Ohio, I still remember, and just a great kid. He was just out of college. He was dating this really hot chick. That hot chick ended up being his wife. They have kids. They have houses. They have different businesses. They got rental properties. It's been cool to watch Matt Williams grow as a human. And it just kind of blossomed from there. So we started doing private trainings. Then it evolves. Our training next month will be completely different than the one here. Back in 05, when I started that, it wasn't loud. It wasn't noisy. Today, to get into this, you got to figure behind us. What did we figure out sitting in here, Chris, if you're going to replace all this stuff? $250,000?
Oh, man, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's not including the shop. Just the gear that's in it is to run an effective program. That's a big investment. And here's the thing. If you're going to go into it, you got to look. I'm not the big guy. I mean, I've got all these manufacturers I've got relationships with. You open up these cabinets, and it's pretty cool. We're redoing it. I'm going to slide this over there. But they're filled with all the different great manufacturers, got relationships with them. But I'm competing with some of the biggest names in auto care. I mean, you got Griots. They've been in the house. P&S, is our partnership and in our line, the Renny Doyle line, right in that, is that it's really loud these days. And if I was going into it today, the last thing I would do is get into training, unless I was going to go to as a corporate trainer for one of it. And I'm not worried about competition. I'm not saying that because of that. I'm just saying the return on investment. Now what I'd have to put into this, I would put a spa in with PPF, window film, paint correction, coatings, wash clay coats, send them out the door, and make a hell of a lot more money. Not to discourage anybody, but that's just hard facts.
It certainly didn't happen overnight either.
No. Yeah, let's see. I mean, we are damn near 20 years. When we did Air Force One 20 years ago for the first time, we weren't training. I was doing open garages with Shell. I was at all the big air shows speaking. So I've been at this a long time. 1999 was when we went overseas the first time with Shell. And then I went to Oshkosh for 11 or 12 years. I went to Sun and Fun. I went to Reno Air Races. I went to AOPA. I went to Paris Air Show. I went all these different shows. And again, Shell Oil, kind of a big company. I don't know if you ever heard of it. They spent a lot of money of putting me through their corporate training to learn how to connect with people, read people, how to convey, how to communicate. It was just a series of, the stars and the moons lining up. Someday somebody's going to replace me here. Who that's going to be, don't know. But it's we all have an expiration date, both in business and in life, before we go on to the next great thing. And that person's going to have to be groomed for a while, but he or she's out there, and they're going to do it even better than I do.
Well, speaking of the next great thing, I think this is a carryover question from last time, but Richard said, if you were to go into any other business, what would it be?
Self-storage.
Oh, yeah, there you go. They're getting some of my money right now.
Self-storage. And here's why. I was actually I've invested in some with a buddy of mine. He's still in it. I probably, it's a PG show. I'm going to say it because Dave is the guy that really, Dave Morris out of Sun Valley, Idaho. He actually lives up in Stanley, Idaho now. Dave is my angel. He got me going on the aircraft side of things back in the 90s. And Dave's just an incredible guy. But he says self-storage is like prostitution, is that you have it, you rent it out, and when you're done, you still have it, and you rent it out. And all you have to do is basically clean it, receive the payment, do the deed, and as long as they want you, you stay around. And so it's self-storage because now it's all automated. I like things that don't take. I would have one person. Also, our buddy, Greg McKay, up out of Woodinville, Washington. He's got a really cool self-serve car wash, a really high-end one. That would be probably equal to the problem with self-storage is it's going to cost you a bit, especially now. Land's really expensive. These things back in the day, back 10 years, 12 years ago, there's a lot of people retiring out. They were the first wave of self-storage developers. They were selling their places. And they needed a lot of renovating. It was kind of good deals. I'm not sure if that's still happening or not. I look at it, but the car wash, but not the big car wash. With personnel is going to be, it's a big problem right now. It's a big problem is the people problem for a lot of companies. If you're a good company and you pay well and you've got a great environment, a great culture, it won't be a problem. You just got to find the right people. But that is a problem. But those two businesses I would seriously look at. And then there's several others. But if as we're going down through, and then the other thing is the whole Airbnb thing. If I've got my buddy Bobby Weiner, we've joined forces with the challenge 5 for 5, meaning 5 properties in 5 years. Is there's software you can buy. It's not cheap, but there's professionals that will guide you through it. Bobby and I we don't talk as much the last couple of weeks because we've been kind of busy, but I am in the, we're looking right now for a property here that put our students in that we're going to double over and use as an Airbnb. I'd be looking at that as you buy. If I was back 19, 20 years old, there's no way with Airbnbs I wouldn't have sold my house. My first house, I'd still have it, and I'd be either long-term renting it, most likely just Airbnb-ing it. My neighborhood, it wouldn't go, though. Never mind. Because nobody's going there unless they want to.
Yeah, same for my neighborhood.
Yeah, it's carnage. They could go for a carnage tour,
I mean, why rent an Airbnb when you could just park your RV on the street and live in it?
There you go. I like that. Throw a mattress in a trailer and call it home.
Yep. Cool. I got one more here from last time that we didn't get to. I'm located in Ohio. My clients are asking for weekly wash packages. How would you structure something like this, and what would be a good price to charge?
Oh man, we love this. We had this as we called it back in the day, our gold medallion membership. And everybody thought it was the dumbest thing, is that we had a weekly package to where we had to start out by detailing, completely bringing your car up to our standards inside and out. So that's where it started. We had to bring it up. We had to get it coated inside and out. So they paid for that, right? Then back then we were charging about $300. It wouldn't work now. I'd probably be $375 to $450 a month for each car. And it was called the Gold Medallion Perfect Car Membership. The reason there was Gold Medallion, we didn't even call it that, is we had special cards that the members had that had like a gold medallion. And we had one guy in our shop that was he was the contact. They didn't even call our office. They had a concierge, a detailing concierge. That they would get a hold of them, and they had direct access to them. They had a little gold medallion sticker on their car that showed that they're members. So if they're at the country club that we serviced, or they're at another facility, we knew it was their car. And really what it was is it was kind of like having an iPhone, because you look over, ooh, what iPhone do you have? I got the 13. I got the 14. It wasn't for 2 years. I couldn't sell it. And then one of my main mentors is, oh God, this guy was brilliant. He goes, Renny, you're not charging enough. He says, the other thing is, I didn't even know about your offering that. I've got 7 cars. How much is it going to cost me for all 7? And I said, well, I don't know, man. I'll have to do the numbers. He goes, you don't have a price? And I said, I do. But with 7 cars, he goes, I don't want a discount. I want it good. And that set a wave off. We had all 25 spots sold out within 6 months. I've been trying to, it took one right person to spread the word. He was connected though. He was involved in everything in the community. It was again, remember what I talked about in an early conversation, is he was part of the local chamber. He did everything. They had a real elite skeleton club, all this shit up there that, the special handshake, stuff that, I mean, I couldn't get invited to where this guy went daily, but I got invited daily because he bragged about us, as I was on top of mind. And I'll tell you, that ran the whole time we owned that shop, and it was killer. You've got to charge enough. You got to touch that vehicle every single week. And it every time, the only thing that wasn't included was spills, odors, road paint, or we had up there mag chloride. And so we had to charge them extra. Mag chloride is what they put on the roads when it gets icy, for those that don't know. So mag chloride removal was extra. But every time we'd touch that car every week, we'd deep clean the leather, we'd steam the carpets, we'd clean the vents, we would do a light polish and recoat. It was called the Perfect Car Membership because that car looked perfect. And they paid a lot of money. Okay, go back. 300 and I think it was it started out at 300 a month, and I think when we're done it was up to 350 when we sold out. At times 25.
Yep. But you got to make sure, that it works in your favor, right? You got to be making what you want to make, right? Your shop rate, and you got to take the travel time into account and all that stuff.
Well, and what we did is that price was okay. This is well, man, I'm glad you said that. Is that price, that $300 a month, was for them bringing it to the shop. Premium mobile service was $100 more a month. Okay. Now we worked in an area that the farthest we had to go was 15, 20 minutes. It wasn't we didn't have bad traffic, and that part of Idaho was, oh my God, there's a herd the herd of elk is in the way and they won't move. It wasn't a big problem. But if you guys want to see where that was, just type in Sun Valley, Idaho. Go check it out. Go type in, if you really want to see something, is Allen and Company event. Google Allen and Company event. You'll freak out. That's where of that event, of who's there over the years. It's pretty crazy. So that membership is really difficult to do. It's not easy. In my estimate, you either need just a handful, maybe 6. I only did it on certain days when we started. Everybody wanted Friday and Saturdays. And so we did Friday and Saturday. Those are the only days we started out with. Because now during the busy season from April 1st until September 1st, we were open 6 days a week. We would rotate our leads. Most of them, they wanted to work as much as they could in the summertime, so most of them were there. But if they did want a weekend off, now the rest of the year, we were shut down. We were closed on Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays during the slow time. And I paid my guys 40 hours. They loved it. They'd come in Tuesday through Friday, get the week done, clean up the shop, do the work. And it got to the point where we didn't make a lot of money during the wintertime, but I never took out a savings anymore. I paid the guys full time. Wasn't coming out of my pocket. I had a great culture. We didn't lose people. We lost seasonal people, but I hate to say I didn't care, but I didn't care. But our main core people stayed around.
Cool. Well, that's probably a pretty good stopping point right there.
I wish I could take and come back. There's so many great
lots of good comments.
Yeah, great comments. And I wish we could really take and share them because there's so many. But thank you all for being here. This is probably my favorite podcast of the month. We got a lot of cool stuff happening, popping up. And the next 60 days is next 90 days are just going to be incredible. Is that just absolutely incredible? And some of my best friends will bring you into the loop as soon as we can. We'll give you guys a sneak peek before anybody. How's that?
There you go.
You and 11,900 of our best friends. And so, but we do appreciate you. As I put a challenge out with a Sunday message, is that go out and make something and try to take and increase your sales every day this week. But go over. You didn't watch my challenge video that I did over on the PNS channel on Instagram. Go watch it and respond to that, because I responded to everybody. I've been checking it a couple times a day to make sure I'm responding to everybody. But go over there and accept that challenge. Is that is discipline's a big one, and I've got I can be a lazy person if I'm not disciplined, but I'm disciplined, so I'm hardly ever lazy. Yesterday I came in, I got a killer workout in. I was on the phone. I had to recharge my phone 3 times. I talked to so many amazing people, so many opportunities. So I'm just calling up to say hi. But it was just yesterday was an incredible day. But when I was done, I walked in. I was working in the shop for about 10 hours, it was an intense day. And so Diane comes in, she wanted to do some stuff, and I'm like, my mind's done. turning my mind off. I'm going to read. I'm going to study a little bit of stuff that I like to study. And it comes back, watch your body as you're detailing, but watch your mind and keep physically and mentally healthy. So with that, we will see you guys. Next week, we won't be on next week. We're traveling again.
No, I think. No, next week we're here.
Next week we are. 2 weeks.
The week
2
after.
weeks. Yeah. Next week I get to go. Rip and I get to go next week is our drill weekend, our long drill weekend. So we're going to be driving right by you.
Oh yeah. You'll have to pass through.
Yeah.
Next week on May 10th, assuming nothing's changed that I forgot about, the topic is going to be hesitation can kill you or save you in business.
I like it.
So
no one to punch it. I don't like putting the brakes on in business. I don't know if I've ever put the brakes on, but there's definitely a time to slow roll it and see what happens. So, hey, go out and have a powerful week, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.
See you guys.